Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, vampires, demons and human monsters. It's my weekly wrap-up. So before we start, let's do a quick t-shirt check, as I usually do on the Saturday. So I just got this new Bride of Frankenstein t-shirt, which I think is very cool. So it's an officially licensed Universal Monsters t-shirt. I've got a Creature from the Black Lagoon one, which I think I've worn in some of my shorts videos. So you may have seen that in those. Anyway, yeah, loving this t-shirt. But so other things before I start then. So just a reminder, because I don't often do this. So there are two other ways you can kind of engage with me. So I'm on like Instagram and Twitter or X, whatever they call it nowadays, and things like that. But also I have a Discord server, which anyone is welcome to join, completely free. You just sign up. So Discord is like an app, but you can access it via the web as well. And we just have different like channels, as they're called, on Discord to talk about different kinds of books and other stuff as well, you know, movies, pets, all that kind of thing. So if you fancy joining a community of bookish people to just chat books, then you'll find the link to my Discord in the description for the video. So there's a link to something called Linktree. Click into that and you've got all my links in there. So yeah, check out my Discord if you fancy chatting to people about books. And then also I run a Patreon subscription service, so you can choose to pay a subscription. There's different tiers and you get different perks based on those tiers, but things like, you know, daily update videos from me. There's merch at some of the tiers. We do a monthly like group read and things like that. So all different kinds of things. Again, yeah, you'll find the link to my link tree in the description for the video, and you can click on that and find all my links in there. You'll also see in the end of the video, I flash up a QR code right at the end. If you scan that on your mobile phone, that will take you to the link tree as well. Right, that's that stuff out the way. Let's go on with the books. So read a fair few books this week. It's been a good reading week. It being October, I'm kind of leaning heavily into spooky stuff. And taking part in two reading events, both of which I've covered off to an extent this week. So one of those is Occult Detective October, which I'm one of the co-hosts of, where we're reading books featuring occult detectives. The other one is the Witches Need Love 2 romance readathon, being run by Sarah from the channel The Bookish Knitter. So I read a book for that this week as well, which I really enjoyed. So let's just go through things in roughly chronological order. So the first couple of things I read were these two volumes of manga, The Hellbound by Yeon Sang-ho and Choi Gyu-Seok. I probably butchered those names, so apologies if I have. So this is a Korean, I think, manga series, just these two volumes. It was interesting but not fantastic. So the concept is an intriguing one. So basically people around the world start getting these kind of apparitions appear to them, which announce to them basically that they're going to go to hell and start a countdown. And it's about people coping with that and how society copes with that. So elements of it were really well done. There's some really suspenseful, exciting sequences where a particular character has this countdown thing going on, and you are, you're waiting to see what happens basically. And indeed, when the countdown hits zero, you find this, very early on in the books, demons do indeed appear and drag that person to hell. So you do get these really suspenseful bits where a particular character is awaiting their destiny. And there's also some kind of interesting stuff about like a cult that springs up around this and just how it impacts society. But overall, it felt quite patchy to me. It's a bit uneven in tone and things like that, and I felt like it wasn't as good as it could have been. But still, if the concept sounds interesting, it is worth checking out. So also read on Kindle, this was a buddy read with MJ from the channel Reading This Life, who's the creator of the Occult Detective October event. So read a book called Already Dead by Charlie Huston, which is the first of the Joe Pitt series of books. This was very kindly sent to me by Nathan, one of my subscribers, so thank you, Nathan. So this is a This is a fun book. So it's the concept is that Joe Pitt, the hero, is like a vampire private eye. So I think it was written in the early 2000s, and it's definitely got that kind of late 90s, early 2000s kind of post-Tarantino vibe to it, in that it's quite into kind of the pop culture side of things. There's lots of kind of bad language and use of slurs and things like that, which did wear a bit thin after a while, but it was still a fun read. So in this one, which is the first in the series, Pitt is investigating this like this disappearance of a young girl, basically a teenage girl. And the thing that was interesting about it is the actual like plot line is very much a kind of classic noirish, hard-boiled private eye type plot line, but it's set against this backdrop of vampires being part of society and zombies as well being part of society. So it wasn't quite what I expected, in that I expected the vampirism part of it to be more central to the story, if that makes sense. And the elements of it are, but overall it felt more like a kind of classic hard-boiled mystery. So, quite entertaining, not fantastic, but decent. Then read, and this was a buddy read with Anne from the channel Anne Novella, and Wilhelmina, who's one of my subscribers and someone who's part of my Discord community. So we read The End of Alice by A.M. Holmes, which I did not enjoy. So this is, and to be fair to A.M. Holmes, I don't think you're supposed to enjoy this book. So this is a very troubling book about a kind of long distance friendship between a child murderer and paedophile who's in prison, and this young woman on the outside, who's kind of almost like, looks to him as a mentor, basically. So some really disturbing content in here, very graphic at times. And a book where I ended up feeling kind of, why did you write this book, A.M. Holmes? It feels like an exercise in trying to be shocking, and trying to, almost like a thought experiment, in terms of, what would it be like to put yourself in the mind of individuals like that. But why would you do that? And arguably, why would you want to read it? And I do question why I read this book. I read it because it was on the list of disturbing books that I've kind of built up through suggestions from people on videos. But I didn't enjoy this book. It's definitely well written at times, but it feels a bit pointless. I didn't really see the purpose of it. So yes, that was not great. I needed something a bit lighter after that, so I then read this Saving Marina by Lauri Robinson, which was my book for the Witches Need Love 2 readathon. Much more enjoyable. So this was just fun, just a fun historical romance. So Harlequin in the US, Mills and Boon in the UK, so set during the Salem witch trials, which is why it's got that witch connection. And yeah, just a really entertaining book. So about a young woman, Marina, who lives in Salem, and who believes herself to be a witch for various reasons, which I'm not entirely sure made sense. And the community believe her to be a witch as well, and she's kind of being a bit persecuted, but not as persecuted as the poor women who are getting hanged. But she is looking after this young girl who is the daughter of a sea captain, and the sea captain returns from his voyages to take his daughter back, basically. And the reason she's looking after her is because the mother has died. And naturally, sea captain and perhaps witch fall in love. So it was a fun book with kind of an interesting backdrop. I felt it was a bit longer than it needed to be, but and equally didn't make quite as good a use of the its setting as it might have. But it was a reasonably entertaining light romance. Also read for Occult Detective October. So the first week of Occult Detective October was Classic Week, where you read a pre-1960 book. So for that I read Carnacki the Ghost Finder by William Hope Hodgson, which is kind of considered, I think, one of the foundational works of the occult detective genre. So this is a collection of, I think, 6 short stories about this character Carnacki, who is, as the title would suggest, a ghost finder, so an occult detective. So he travels to like haunted houses and tries to figure out what's going on. So written, I think, early in the 20th century, and features things like electric. What's the word I'm looking for? Pentacles. And so he has electric pentacles, which he kind of sets up to contain ghosts and things like that. So I guess a bit like the traps in Ghostbusters. So yeah, it was just fun. Really well written, really entertaining, quite spooky at times. The stories were like a nice length, not too long, not too short. You kind of got into the particular haunting that he was investigating. So yeah, I really enjoyed that a lot. It was a good read. And then have also been reading throughout the week Dracula by Bram Stoker. So this is our monthly pick for my Patreon book club, which I mentioned at the start. So yeah, each month my patrons pick a book, and this is what we're reading this month, appropriately for Occult Detective October, because it features the character of Abraham Van Helsing, who is effectively an occult detective. I'm really enjoying it. It's a reread for me. I first read it as a teenager, and I think I've read it since then as well. I'm about a third of the way through. I'm actually listening to it on Audible, but it's really, really good. I think it's got a fairly gentle pace, but the actual sequence of events and the way Stoker gradually reveals what's happening to you is really good, and the way he uses the voices of different characters through letters and journals and things like that is fascinating, and it allows you as the reader, or encourages you as the reader, to kind of piece together the bits of the puzzle. So yeah, really, really enjoying it. Definitely recommend it if you haven't read it already. It is a truly great work of horror. So that's what I have been reading. In terms of currently reading, so I've just started this, The Hollow Kind by Andy Davidson, which I'm doing a buddy read of with Sammy, one of my patrons. So this is really good so far. I'm about 50 pages in, and it's excellent. An interesting new work of horror. I've not heard of, had not heard of, and have not read Andy Davidson before. But I think he's written at least one other thing, so I might check that out, because this is very good so far. In terms of what else I'm likely to read this week, for week 2 of Occult Detective October, which is like modern week, so post 1960, I think I'm probably going to read this, The Stone of Destiny by Andrew Neil MacLeod, the second of his Johnson and Boswell occult detective books. So I really enjoyed the first one. Looking forward to diving into this. And then I've also got another buddy read lined up with Ellis, one of my patrons. We're going to be reading Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. So something completely different from the other stuff I'm reading at the moment, but supposed to be a very entertaining book. So looking forward to that. In terms of channel stuff then, so in the past week, a few different things on the channel. So you've had my unboxing of the Your Paper Quest subscription box, which is a new or fairly new UK subscription service dedicated to publishing indie authors. So I had fun doing that. And one of the books, this one, Necrotown by Alexander Nader, which I got in that unboxing, I'm going to try and fit into Occult Detective October. Also did a top 10 horror video, so top 10 atmospheric creepy horror books, which was fun to do, and people seem to be enjoying that one. So I think I'm going to do throughout October, I think I'm going to do each week another top 10. So in the coming week I'm going to do top 10 vampire books, and then I might do top 10 serial killers later in the month as well. So yeah, so you had that. Also had my review of the Enter Boogeyman horror anthology, which launched this week on Kickstarter. I'm backing it on Kickstarter. So I really enjoyed the book, which I read digitally. The hardcover edition that they're publishing through Kickstarter looks fantastic. It's got like a glow-in-the-dark cover and stuff like that. It just looks beautifully put together. So yeah, I've backed that, and I'm looking forward to getting the hardcover when it releases next year. And then also did a review of A Light Most Hateful by Hayley Piper, which I didn't love, but I enjoyed. So that went up on Thursday of this week. In the week ahead then, I'm just trying to stare past my microphone to look at my list. So I've got an announcement video going up tomorrow for a new challenge. Well, not a new challenge, a returning challenge. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you may be able to guess what that is. I'm also going to do, as I said, my top 10, well, maybe not my top 10 all-time vampire books, but a top 10 really good vampire books. I'm going to do a review of the book Silent Key by Laurel Hightower, which is released next week. And I'm also doing my September wrap-up, so slightly later than I normally do them. But yeah, wrap-up of all the books I read in September. So, hope you found that interesting. Hope you've all had good reading weeks. Let me know what you've been reading in the comments. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff. And I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.